Yeah, it's what it's like, Bobby. Thanks, Bob. It's like a tsunami of truth. It's hot yoga for your mind. Yeah, that's what it is. Welcome back to the Steve Gruber Show on Fat Tuesday. Punchki breath, it's okay. There's a big push towards gun control in this country, and you may not be seeing it everywhere, but trust me, you look at places like Oregon, where they want to limit the number of bullets you can buy each month to 20. You look at the new assault weapons ban 2019. I've looked through it. There'll be just hundreds of guns listed. You can't have this or this or this and whatever. Emily Taylor's here, an independent program attorney with U.S. Law Shield, one of the country's leading voices on the Second Amendment. Emily, welcome back.
Thank you.
But not everybody's dropping in line. Some of these sheriffs out there that are elected officials, some say the most powerful law enforcement officer in the country are the elected sheriffs. And many are saying, you know what, you pass these onerous gun control bills, we're not going to follow them, right?
Yeah, their reasoning here is twofold. Number one, they call themselves constitutional sheriffs. All law enforcement officers take an oath that in part obligates them to uphold the Constitution, and they believe these laws to be unconstitutional and contrary to the Second Amendment. And then, of course, the other aspect here is that we expect all of our law enforcement to use their discretion when enforcing the law. They don't have to arrest everyone or issue tickets for every infraction they see, and so they're relying on that as well.
Well, clearly, if, places like California don't intend on enforcing federal law when it comes to immigration and so forth, then these sheriffs, it's sanctuary gun areas, basically. We're not going to violate our view of the Constitution. Does that sound right?
Yes, and in these very blue states where this is happening, which is really where it's concentrated right now, the lawmakers are a little bit hamstrung because they have gone out there and said, we are, telling our officers to use their discretion to not enforce these immigration laws. And so it's difficult now, of course, I say difficult, it's hypocritical now. We'll see how much hypocrisy they can tolerate to then say, well, you can't choose not to enforce these laws. We just don't want you to enforce these ones. So they've put themselves in a tight spot now to complain about what the sheriffs are doing.
All right. Well, I want to get you, I want you to listen to something with me here, Emily, and I want the listeners to join in here. How far is the left willing to go? How hysterical is the left when it comes to gun control? Well, we have to look no further than Michigan's own Debbie Dingell, who basically was hysterical on the House floor. I don't know how else to describe this, but go ahead and listen to this as she talks about gun control and her father. Debbie Dingell, Bite 7, go.
I will be honest on this floor. My father was mentally ill. I had to hide in that closet with my siblings, wondering if we would live or die. One night, I kept my father killing my mother. He shouldn't have had a gun. This is what I remember as a child. My mother went out and bought a gun. And then all of us were scared to death about her gun and my father's gun. We had two guns to worry about. No child, no woman, no man should ever have to go through that.
Wow. That's all I can say is wow. Apparently, the guns were never used in any illicit way. And apparently the problems inside Debbie Dingell's home gives her the right to burn down the Constitution for the rest of us. Your thoughts, Emily?
Yeah, I have sympathy for anyone who goes through that sort of thing as a child, but I have a hard time understanding how someone who is abused by a mentally ill father can protest a weapon in self-defense that matches his weapon. That's the left's. That's the left's idea that boggles my mind.
Right. She was scared. No, Debbie Dingell was scared. Therefore, you shouldn't have a gun. I'm sorry. Just because you were scared, Debbie, doesn't mean I surrender my constitutional and God-given rights to protect myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really indicative of the left just generally. Their arguments on gun control are 100% emotional. And I think that's what we hear in that clip is emotion, not logic. And when you ask them logically, how would these things help and what do you propose, they can't tell you.
Well, no, I think what I didn't see the whole speech, but my guess is that she's advocating and angling toward these so-called red flag laws, which are the idea that, Mr. Gruber, he's a dangerous individual. He can't have guns. And so the the constable would come to your house and say, there's been a filing against you, Mr. Gruber. You must give us all your guns. Well, I've read about some of these cases. The problem is people that were guilty of absolutely nothing have a hell of a time ever getting their guns back. You see, the government comes and takes them away from people because that makes the world safer. And somebody said that they were crazy or whatever it is. And then the guns are taken away from them, and then you play hell to get them back. And this is just part of the game. I think that it's just all part of the game. Your thought?
Yeah, absolutely. And keep in mind that first taking of your firearms under these red flag laws, the motion is ex parte, which means you have no idea what's going on. So imagine you are tackled in your driveway by law enforcement, who then raid your home, start taking out guns, and then your reaction to that, which is not going to be good. You are going to be probably yelling and screaming and scared, and you're not going to know what's going on because you do not know that this has been happening. They're going to take that videotape because it's all on body camera, and that is going to be Exhibit 1 when you show up back in court and ask for your guns back. And they're going to say, you can't have them back. You're crazy. You're angry. Look at what you did. Well, who wouldn't react poorly in that situation? So it is very hard to get them back.
The government confiscating your property, without due process. That's what that is. And guns being treated differently. Well, it's my property, and you're trying to. And of course, there was the man, I believe it was Maryland, shot dead because they came up and started pounding on his door at 6 a.m, demanding he give up his guns. He came to the door armed. What would you do at 6 a.m? There's a chaos and commotion at your door. He came, shot dead by the police in what they call a justifiable homicide, and I find it damn frightening. Emily Taylor here, independent program attorney with U.S. Law Shield. And so I guess, Emily, I'll ask you this. As we head into this new Congress, I see, the entire Democrat Party going left, and with that, every policy, including gun control. Am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. Luckily, our saving grace here is that we have a Senate and a president who are not going to let any of these bills actually become law. I think we also need
for today. The problem is they never go away. And so if not this Congress, at some point in our future, there will be a liberal president and a left-leaning Congress. And then what?
Absolutely. So, the states are all swinging towards a really tight gun control now. We have to hope that if that happens, the states swing back and we get in the situation again where they don't want to enforce federal law and we have, some protection on the state level. But it's upsetting. It's scary. Luckily, again, we have a Supreme Court with a composition that
hopefully will defend us. Yeah, hopefully will defend us.
Exactly.
All right, Emily, great conversation as always. I appreciate you being here. Emily Taylor, independent program attorney, U.S. Law Shield, leading voice for the Second Amendment. We appreciate all you do, Emily.
Thank you.